Hello, I'm Alma Angeles and welcome to ASEAN and Focus. We're coming to you live from Manila. On today's headlines, the death toll from the strongest typhoon to hit the Philippines this year surged to 375 as the death toll from the strongest typhoon increases and desperate survivors pleaded for urgent supplies of drinking water and food.
Health official on Monday said a third case of the Omicron coronavirus variant has been detected in the country.
During the most recent run. Turning overseas Filipino with the Omicron variant arrived from Qatar.
And Myanmar junta troops launch a helicopter raid on anti-coup fighters in a restive region. Locals and spokesmen said Monday as the military struggles to break resistance to its rule.
Long Kian Yeo was celebrating a dream come true Monday after becoming the first Singaporean to win a Badminton World Championship despite carrying an ankle injury.
Thank you, Ralph, for joining me today. Ralph Wandolf Emphi is joining us live from Vietnam. Meanwhile, first here in the country, the death toll from the strongest typhoon to hit the Philippines this year surged to 375 as desperate survivors pleaded for urgent supplies of drinking water and food. Now, the Philippine Red Cross reported complete carnage in coastal areas after Super Typhoon Rai left homes, hospitals, and schools ripped to shreds. The storm tore off roofs, uprooted trees, toppled concrete power poles, smashed wooden houses to pieces, wiped out crops and flooded villages, sparking comparisons to the damage caused by Super Typhoon Haiyan in 2013. At least 375 people were killed and 56 are still missing in this latest disaster to hit the archipelago, with 500 injured according to the National Police. More than 380,000 people fled their homes and beachfront resorts as Rai slammed into the country on Thursday. One of the hardest hit islands was Bohol, known for its beaches, chocolate hills, and tiny tarsier primates, where at least 94 people have died, according to Provincial Governor Arthur Yap on his Facebook. In Bohol's coastal town of Ubay, a state of calamity has been declared with many wooden houses flattened and fishing boats destroyed. A senior official at the National Disaster Agency said he had not expected as many deaths.
Survivors of Typhoon Rai plead for urgent supplies of drinking water and food as the death toll from the strongest typhoon to hit the Philippines this year surpassed 200 on Monday. Let's take a look.
Nagbigay sila ng kahit man lang isang bumbiro ng tubig, yun lang.
Kahit yun, ma'am, wala.
Yun lang, walang nagpakita. Iwan ko kung nasaan yung mga politisyan, mga politiko at saka yung mga kandidato, tingnan natin. Pag pumasok sila, sunod, matikman nila ang lahat. Matikman nila ang sakit ng mga tao na sasabihin ng mga tao. Sobra sila di mga iwan ko.
Kasi buong Surigao City, Norte, kahit doon sa kabila sa isla, sir, talagang apektado lahat, sir. Walang pinalagpas. Lahat talaga apektado. Kaya kung sino man yung mga nasa katungkulan, inaano namin na sana mapansin nyo man. Kung hindi nyo man kami napansin, hindi nyo man nakita yung anong sitwasyon namin.
The death toll from the strongest typhoon to hit the Philippines this year surpassed 200 on Monday, as desperate survivors pleaded for urgent supplies of drinking water and food. Super Typhoon Rai is the most powerful to hit the Philippines in 2021 and comes late in the region's typhoon season, with most cyclones developing between July and October. Scientists have long warned that rising global temperatures induced by man-made climate change are causing typhoons to become more powerful and strengthen more rapidly.
Meanwhile, a low-pressure area over the Pacific may enter the Philippine area of responsibility either on the 23rd or 24th of December, according to Pag-asa, confirming this on Monday. It will be closest to the landmass of Mindanao on Saturday night or on December 26. Let's listen in.
Nakarating din po sa ating opisina yung kumakalat na balita na magkakaroon daw ng bagyo ngayong darating na weekend. So isang example po ng reference ng ating mga weather forecasters, ang Global Spectral Model nagpapakita ng wind forecast hanggang sa darating na Huwebes. So makikita natin, no, for the next 2 to 3 days, bagamat may binabantayan tayong low pressure area na nasa labas pa ng ating PAR, maliit po ang chance maging bagyo, no? At kung pumasok man dito sa southeastern part ng ating area of responsibility, ay hindi po natin inaasahan na magiging bagyo. Subalit, ina-anticipate natin or yung forecast natin dito, pagpasok ng area of responsibility ay posibleng kumilos pakanluran patungo nga dito sa eastern section ng Mindanao sa darating na weekend. So sa mga babayan natin, no, ngayon pa lamang pinapayaw natin, no, or patuloy pa rin tayong nagre-recover sa nagdaang bagyo, pinapayaw po natin na maging habit pa rin po natin yung mag-monitor ng daily weather forecast na ipinalalabas ng Pag-asa 2 times a day, isa sa alas 4 ng umaga at isa sa alas 4 ng hapon. So sa ating 3-day weather outlook dito sa Metro Manila hanggang Biyernes, generally maaliwas ang panahon. Pero may tsansa pa rin po ng ilang pulupulong mainang pag-ulan na dala ng amihan.
So again, the LPA has a 30 to 40% chance of developing into a tropical depression. Pag-asa thus urged the public to take precautionary measures and to remain vigilant against unofficial information from unverified sources. Information can be obtained via Pag-asa's website and on its official social media accounts. Many parts of the country were dampened by Typhoon Odette, international name Rai, which left the PAR last Saturday. Earlier, Pag-asa forecast 1 or 2 tropical cyclones to form or enter the country this month. The next tropical cyclone will be named Paulo.
With no mobile signal or internet to contact loved ones, typhoon survivors stranded on a devastated Philippine island have written letters to reassure worried relatives they are alive. Photos of the touching missives were posted on Monday on the Facebook page of Dinagat Islands Governor Arlene Bagao, who has been able to get online during trips to the neighboring island of Mindanao, where she is seeking help for her constituents. At least 14 people died in Dinagat Islands, where Super Typhoon Rai hit on Thursday, tearing houses to pieces, toppling concrete power poles, and smashing fishing boats. The national death toll from the strongest storm to hit the country this year exceeds 200. Many of Dinagat's 128,000 residents sheltered in evacuation centers ahead of the storm and are now homeless. There is also a shortage of drinking water and food, officials said. After receiving requests for updates on the situation, Bagao urged people to write letters to their families outside Dinagat to let them know they were safe.
Images of flooded streets near Kuala Lumpur and locals being ferried to safety in boats as more than 50,000 people now have been forced from their homes in Malaysia. At least 7 people have died in the floods, which are the worst seen in the country for years. Take a look.
Okay, actually we are here with our fellow NGOs and friends together to help a lot of people here. And we have received a lot of requests to help them since yesterday morning. From 8 o'clock in the morning, we got a lot of phone call requests, and from overseas also to look after their parents and sick parents, the people there. So we have also been supported by a lot of our fellow NGOs from outside Shah Alam.
This has never happened before. This is the first time. So I've been doing this business for more than 24 years. This is the first time. Damage is more than 10K. More than 10K.
A weekend of torrential rain caused rivers to overflow, flooding towns and villages and cutting off major roads, with many motorists left trapped in their vehicles for hours. The number of evacuees across the country rose to about 51,000 on Monday, according to official data, with the worst hit area being the eastern state of Pahang, where some 32,000 were forced from their homes. The country's wealthiest and most populous state, Selangor, surrounding the capital Kuala Lumpur, has been badly affected, which is unusual as it typically avoids the worst of the monsoon rains. or the monsoon flood. 7 people have been confirmed dead in Selangor, according to fire and rescue officials cited in the Star newspaper. With reports of others missing, the toll is expected to climb. Prime Minister Ismail Sabri Yaacob said that a month's rainfall came down just in one day in Selangor, adding that tens of thousands of emergency service and military personnel were deployed to aid rescue efforts.
The Department of Social Welfare and Development, or DSWD, continues to provide assistance to local government units affected by Typhoon Odette. In its Monday report, some 8.4 million worth of humanitarian assistance have been sent to regions 6, 8, 10, 11, Mimaropa, and Caraga. During President Rodrigo Duterte's visit to the Caraga region on Saturday, along with DSWD Secretary Rolando Bautista and Senator Bongo, the agency distributed additional 35,000 family food packs, or FPPS. DSWD Caraga initially delivered 5,000 FFPS each to Dinagat Islands and Siargao via the Philippine Navy and Montenegro shipping lines. The DSWD assured it has sufficient relief items for distribution to affected localities. To date, it maintains stockpiles and standby funds amounting to more than 944 million pesos, while more than 377,000 FFPS are in strategic locations around the country.
Vaccinating more people against the coronavirus disease remains the best protection against the Omicron virus. That is according to a National Task Force Against COVID-19 advisor on Monday night. Here's Dr. Teodoro Herbosa, the NTF advisor against COVID-19. Let's listen in.
Hopefully, we will continue to improve our vaccination targets, especially in the areas that are able to continue vaccination.
He also expressed hope that the region struck by Typhoon Odette will be able to catch up with their vaccination activities. He said there are areas, Region 7, 8, and Caraga, that have stopped the vaccination because of concentration on relief efforts. He also hoped that the other regions, such as Central Luzon and Calabarzon, will be able to vaccinate more people for the government to meet its target. Meanwhile, Dr. Herbosa thanked the U.S. government for facilitating the delivery of the over 900,000 vaccine doses, which were procured through the ASEAN Development Bank.
The United States, in partnership with the COVID-19 Vaccines Global Access, or COVAX facility, donated an additional 3,400,020 doses of the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine to the Philippines as part of its continuing worldwide effort to help end COVID-19. The vaccines, delivered in 2 separate shipments to Manila on December 20 and 21, were part of the 500 million Pfizer doses the United States is making available for distribution through COVAX, a global initiative to support equitable access to COVID-19 vaccines. U.S. Embassy in the Philippines chargé d'affaires ad interim, or CDA, Heather Barriaba, joined National Task Force Against COVID-19 Chief Implementer Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. Take a look.
All right, we'll try and get those sound bites a little later. The government has administered around 2.5 million doses of COVID-19 vaccine during the second Bayanihan Bakunahan drive from December 15 to 18, according to a Department of Health official on Monday. In a televised Laging Handa public briefing, DOH Undersecretary Mirna Kabutahe said the administered vaccines do not include 639 local government units, or LGUs, in Mimaropa, Region 6, 7, 8, and Caraga, where inoculation activities were canceled due to Typhoon Odette. Take a look.
Ang napagkayarian po, pag-iibayuhin yung NCR CAR 1234A, ang ituloy-tuloy pa rin yung bakunahan. Tapos uumpisahan na po yung sa mga naudlot sa Region 5, Region Mimaropa, 6, 7, 8, and Caraga. Baka yung Region 7, hindi natin alam kung ano pa yung mangyayari. But in Region 6, there are a few areas na hindi nagbakuna. Sa Region Caraga, mga dalawang areas din ang hindi pa magre-resume ng bakunan. But majority will already start their full blast ng vaccination ngayong araw na ito.
The Supreme Court on Monday announced work suspension in trial courts on Thursday and Friday, which is on December 23 and 24 and December 31. Circular number 156-2021 released by Court Administrator Officer in charge Raul Villanueva said the suspension will give way to the disinfection of offices and allow the courts to organize their records. December 23 was also declared no transaction day in all trial courts to prioritize the collation and organization of court documents needed for the required preparation of inventory and other reports early next year. All executive judges were also directed to ensure that the disinfection and sanitation are carried out and court documents are secured and organized. That's according to the Office of the Court Administrator.
In other news, a health official on Monday said a third case of the Omicron coronavirus variant has been detected in the country. In an online media forum, Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergeres said the case is a 36-year-old returning overseas Filipino who already tested negative for COVID-19 on December 19 after a repeat test. Let's listen in.
And 0.02% or 3 samples also positive for the Omicron variant. This one case was detected during the most recent run. Turning overseas Filipino with the Omicron variant arrived from Qatar but was noted to have had travel history to Egypt. The third case of the Omicron is a 36-year-old male, sea-based OFW. He arrived at Mactan, Cebu International Airport from Qatar on November via Qatar Airways with flight number QR924 and was noted to have had travel history to Egypt. The case had his sample collected on December 4 and the result was released on December 5. The case completed his isolation in Cebu before traveling back to Cavite, his hometown, where he immediately self-quarantined at home upon arrival. The case is currently finishing his home quarantine in Cavite to be asymptomatic since his arrival. Last December 19, the case was swabbed and tested negative on repeat RT-PCR. The DOH is already determining the possible close contacts among co-passengers during the flights of this case. The DOH also is verifying the test results and health status of all passengers of this flight if there are other confirmed cases or passengers who became symptomatic after arrival. The DOH is also task group on the management of returning overseas Filipinos to complete the details of the flights of these individuals.
And the news continues here on ASEAN in Focus. Ralph and I will be back right after this.
Alam namin ang iyong pagsisikap. Dama namin ang iyong mga sakripisyo. Kita namin ang pagharap mo sa bawat pagsubok. Kaya sa kabila ng mga hamon ng buhay, nandito kami para umalalay. Kasi katulad mo, gusto rin namin ang magandang bukas para sa kanya. Hatid namin ang dekalidad na edukasyon at makabagong pasilidad sa abot kayang halaga. Kaya huwag ka na mangamba, sasamahan ka namin tuparin ang mga pangarap niya. Maaasahan mong sulit dito ang mga pinagsikapan mo. Sa aming mga makabagong pasilidad at sistema ng edukasyon. May lalabas natin ang aking talino at mga kakayahan niya. Kahit sa munting halaga, makakasiguro ka na makakasabay siya sa mabilis na pag-ikot ng mundo. Sa new era, Karamay mo kami sa bawat hamon. Kaagapay mo kami sa bawat hakbang. Kasama mo kami sa bawat ngiti at tagumpay.
Mahal pa rin kita, ngunit ngayon'y sa'kin na lang. Paalam na hanggang sa muli.
Hello, this is Josh Suma. Please catch me on Letters and Music, online and on air, this coming Sunday, December 26, 1 to 2 p.m. See you there!
Welcome back to the program. Myanmar junta troops launched a helicopter raid on anti-coup fighters in a restive region. Locals and a spokesman said on Monday as the military struggles to break resistance to its rule. On Friday, junta troops launched a raid on a PDF meeting in the country's central Sagaing region using helicopters and jet fighters, locals said. 2 helicopters landed and deployed troops, said non-Par village resident who did not want to be named, adding that a jet had scraped a building. Another local told AFP the military used 5 helicopters in the attack and that troops had fired on the village of around 6,000 people from the air. Troops killed 2 PDF leaders and 7 civilians after they disembarked. One of them added, AFP wasn't able to verify the reports. Junta spokesman Zhao Mintun confirmed the military had used helicopters in the raid without saying how they were used. He said he had no casualty figures. Analysts have said that the military typically calls on helicopters and airborne assaults when ground troops have struggled. In May, the Kachin Independence Army, an ethnic rebel group in the country's far north, set down a military helicopter gunship during fierce clashes near the town of Mamok. Sagaing has seen regular clashes and increasingly bloody reprisals.
In a related news, the UN's refugee agency on Monday called for Thailand to allow them urgent access to more than 3,000 Myanmar refugees who fled to the kingdom to escape fighting in conflict-racked Karen state. Clashes between Myanmar's military and the Karen National Union, a rebel group vocally opposed to a junta which deposed a civilian government in February, broke out last week in a town not far from the Thai border. Some 700 refugees crossed the river into Thailand's Tak province on Thursday, fleeing artillery shelling and small arms fire. By Monday, the number had ballooned to 3,900 due to continued fighting, according to the UNHCR. Provincial authorities said late Monday, about 3,500 refugees remain in 2 locations on the Thai side, as dozens have gradually returned since fighting appeared to have ceased. Thai authorities are providing humanitarian assistance and transportation for those who volunteer to return to Myanmar by transporting them from the banks of Moy River, according to a statement released by Tak province. But now Kian Nai Pao, General Secretary of Karen Women's Organization, said the majority of people are still afraid. The latest wave of some 1,500 people on Sunday came after renewed fighting broke out in Mae Tao Talai, a town bordering Thailand, where displaced people were sheltering. Junta spokesman Zhao Mintun confirmed the fighting in Mae Tao Talai on Monday, adding that the military are now trying to control the situation by negotiating with the KNU. The clashes kicked off last week after state media reported junta troops entered KNU territory and arrested several dissidents, including a former lawmaker from Aung San Suu Kyi's ousted government. The rebel group, one of more than 20 ethnic armed groups holding territories in Myanmar's border regions, has been a staunch opponent of the junta, providing shelter to anti-coup dissidents.
The National Capital Region, or NCR, is classified as very low risk for coronavirus disease 2019, with an average of only 79 new cases per day from December 14 to December 20, the Octa Research Group said on Tuesday. The incidence for ADAR, or average daily attack rate, was at 0.55 per day per 100,000 individuals, while the reproduction number was 0.48, the group said in its latest report. It added that the NCR's test positivity rate was 0.6% and it has an average of 18,127 RT-PCR tests over the past 7 days. The 15 local government units in the NCR classified very low for COVID-19 include Pateros, Muntinlupa, Navotas, Caloocan, Marikina, Pasay, Taguig, Quezon City, Mandaluyong, Pasig, Malabon, Parañaque, Valenzuela, Manila, and Makati. Among the 15 LGUs, only Pateros logged 0 new cases of COVID-19. The other LGUs reported 1 to 15 new infections. Their ADARs are below 1. Meanwhile, 2 LGUs, Las Piñas and San Juan, were classified as low risk for COVID-19 with ADARs of 1.10 and 1.19 respectively. San Juan logged a healthcare utilization rate of 33%, while Las Piñas has only 9%.
Staying in the country, a health official on Monday reminded victims of Typhoon Odette staying in evacuation centers to observe minimum public health standards amid threats posed by the Omicron variant in the country. Department of Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere also called on local government units to appoint safety officers. Take a look.
Mga evacuation centers, please continue. Muli pa rin po namin pinapaalala, lalong-lalo na po sa mga pansamantalang nakabakwit sa mga evacuation centers, please continue to practice minimum public health standards, properly wearing your face mask, observe physical distancing of at least 1 meter from people who are not members of your household, observe proper cough and sneezing etiquette, frequent hand washing or sanitizing, and ensuring enough air circulation inside the evacuation centers, among others. We call on our local governments and your respective camp managers to appoint safety officers inside your evacuation centers. Please provide separate areas for the vulnerable population, katulad po ng ating mga nakakatanda at saka yung po may mga comorbidities, and for those who have other illnesses as well. The DOH also warns of waterborne and foodborne illnesses, influenza-like illnesses, leptospirosis and dengue, or the wild diseases. We can avoid this by promoting access to water, sanitation and hygiene facilities, and resources are safe for drinking and cooking para makaiwas po tayo sa mga sakit gaya ng cholera, typhoid fever, amoebiasis, hepatitis at iba pang sakit na dinudulot ng maruming tubig.
As of December 19, the DOH has prepositioned a total of 11.8 million pesos worth of drugs, medical supplies, including personal protective equipment, and COVID-19 supplies to provinces affected by Odette. A total of 66.6 million pesos worth of commodities are also available at the DOH Central Warehouse, and a total of 272.45 million pesos worth of commodities in the DOH Centers of Health Development or CHD are ready for deployment. The DOH CHDs have also employed human resources for health and health cluster members to assist in surveillance, rapid health assessment, and provide support to the ongoing disaster risk response. To date, the DOH recorded 7 damaged health facilities in Caraga and Region 7 with estimated cost damage of 8.3 million pesos.
Tourism and Creative Economy Minister Santiago Uno has asked Bali to prepare for an increase in visitors during the year-end holidays. The island is a favorite destination for vacationers. He said his administration is continuously coordinating with the Bali Governor, Iwayan Coster, and the heads of regional districts to anticipate the spread of COVID-19 through several measures. The Ngurah Rai Airport Authority in Bali has been ordered to implement stricter monitoring, so have daily Port and Padambay Port in Port. Additionally, it is now mandatory for vacationers to use the Pedulilin Dungi application and other health facilities. The minister also said that on Saturday, December 18, 2021, 14,000 people arrived in Bali. This happened because the vaccination process, the application of health protocols, and the successful control of the COVID-19 situation have pushed efforts towards economic revival.
And back here in the country, the COVID-19 alert level 2 status in Metro Manila will remain for the rest of the year despite the detection of the third Omicron variant case in the country, according to National Task Force Against COVID-19 Chief Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. The vaccine czar said the possible amendment on the alert level status will be based on the epidemiological recommendations of the Department of Health, considering key factors on cases surge and hospitalization rate. Galvez said there is a continuing decline in COVID cases in the country, with just 9,592 active infections as of Monday. Still, he cautioned the public against complacency amid the downtrend. Galvez thanked ANU, LGUs, and the private sector for proactively participating in the national COVID-19 vaccination days.
ASEAN Focus will be right back after the short break.
Welcome back. Devastation in some parts of the Visayas and Mindanao wrought by Typhoon Odette is expected to hit economic recovery, but restoration activities in the coming days can counter its economic impact. In a report released on Monday, Rizal Commercial Banking Corporation, or RCBC Chief Economist Michael Ricafort said damage to agriculture and productivity losses are the visible effects of the recent typhoon that hit the country. To date, many affected areas remain to have issues on electricity, and telecommunication services are experiencing shortages in water and fuel, as well as the delayed movement of goods and people because of damaged infrastructure. Mr. Ricafort said there may also be temporary loss of jobs, employment, and other economic activities until some restoration is already in place to allow resumption of business and other economic activities. The vaccination program in the typhoon-hit areas will also be affected, he said. Ricafort also expects temporary upticks in prices in the devastated areas, thus a negative for the inflation rate and gross domestic product, or GDP.
Equities stabilized and oil prices saw a much-needed gain Tuesday after their latest flop as bargain buyers moved in. Though investors remain fixated on the fast-spreading Omicron variant and moves to contain it over the festive period. Reports that moderate Democrat Senator Joe Manchin could still be willing to discuss Joe Biden's $1.75 trillion social spending bill, having delivered a blow to the White House Sunday by rejecting it. We're also providing a little support, though talks would likely drag. Markets have been lashed since the emergence of Omicron as it spreads quickly through populations and forces governments to impose measures to protect their populations, but which are economically damaging. All three main indexes on Wall Street ended down more than 1%, though they paired early losses. And Asia started Tuesday on the front foot. Tokyo added 2%, while there were also healthy gains in Hong Kong, Shanghai, Sydney, Seoul, Singapore, Taipei, and Jakarta.
Meanwhile, an official of the United Nations assured that a coordinated response from the organization and its partners are already underway to help those in need in the wake of Typhoon Odette. In a statement on Monday, UN resident and humanitarian coordinator in the Philippines, Gustavo Gonzalez, said UN humanitarian assessment teams have been able to access areas and communities hit hardest by Odette. The reports and images of utter devastation they are sending back are heartbreaking, and our deepest sympathies go out to those who lost so much, including loved ones, according to Galvez. In response, he said UN agencies, non-government organizations or NGO, its partners in the private sector are making efforts to provide shelter, health, food protection, and other life-saving responses to those affected. He said we are coordinating with the government authorities to ensure we provide timely support and are fully mobilized in addressing critical gaps and the needs of the most vulnerable, according to Gonzalez. He also commended the professionalism of frontline responders led by Philippine government officials, the Philippine Red Cross, and others in evacuation, search, and rescue efforts, quote, in very difficult circumstances and logistics.
Stay in focus. We'll be right back after the short break.
Sa ating pong lipunan, hindi na mawawala ang mga samot-saring problema. Kaya tuloy lamang pong pag-aksyon, paghahanap ng solusyon. Lalo na ngayon, may maaasahan ka ng re-responde. Sabado, alas 6 hanggang alas 7 ng gabi. Ito ang Responde, mata ng mamamayan.
Welcome back. Vietnam and India on Friday signed Memorandum of Understanding on promoting scientific and technical cooperation in marine science and ecology. The MOU was signed by Vietnamese Minister of Natural Resources and Environment Chan Hong Ha and Indian Union Science and Technology Minister Jitendra Singh in New Delhi, India on December 17, within the framework of Vietnamese National Assembly Chairman Vuong Dinh Huay's official visit to India. The MOU is the first agreement related to marine science and ecology between the two countries, and it will lead to information and resource sharing related to shoreline change, sediment transport rate, coastal protection measures. The MOU will also lead to information and resource sharing related to shoreline change, sediment transport rate, coastal protection, and coastal protection measures.
Meanwhile, the Philippines and South Korea signed a memorandum of understanding on Monday to formalize the arrangement that will ensure the food safety of fish and fishery product exports. Take a look. The Department of Agriculture, Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, or DABFAR, said the MOU will boost the relationships between the two countries as they plan to further improve technological innovations. DA Undersecretary for Agro-Industrialization and Fisheries, Cheryl Natividad Caballero said in an interview with Philippine news agency. She said with these proposed strategic areas for partnership, the Philippines would be able to improve the reliability of its exports for octopus, eels, and other high-value species anchored on traceability and catch documentation systems. DABFAR said the new partnership will likewise strengthen international cooperation and the development of a platform and framework for Korean and Filipino experts to engage in technical consultation and discussions on issues concerning seafood trade, trading sectors, technology transfer, and innovation.
A new landscape with edible crops that formed into the Department of Agriculture's logo was unveiled Monday at the agency's central office along Elliptical Road in Quezon City. The project, dubbed Hardin ng Kalusugan at Pagkain, Garden of Health and Food, was an initiative of the Institute of Crop Science, University of the Philippines, Los Baños, College of Agriculture and Food Science, and Edible Landscaping Movement. The design of our marker symbolizes crop production, encourages urban agriculture. Everything that we have put in there are tools in plant production. UPLBL project leader Dr. Fernando C. Sanchez Jr. explained during the opening. Secretary William Dar and other officials led the ribbon-cutting ceremony and ceremonial turnover of the shovel to symbolize food cultivation and production through ELB. Funded by the DA Bureau of Agricultural Research, under the plant program, the garden promotes ELB in urban communities as an additional source of available, fresh, and nutritious food. It supports the efforts of the DA to establish food-resilient communities amid the COVID-19 pandemic and promotes urban farming by incorporating available technologies such as organic farming, vertical farming, hydroponics, and horticulture.
Meanwhile, the Department of Trade and Industry, or DTI Secretary Ramon Lopez, proposed stronger trade and investment ties with the UAE as he joined the inaugural Global Business Forum, Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, hosted at Expo Dubai 2020. The forum is a signature event of the Dubai Chamber of Commerce and Industry, aimed to provide a platform for dialogue among UAE, ASEAN, and other global businesses and governments. Take a look.
Well, this is a very important event as far as we're concerned because we are now in the process of trying to strengthen our business relation, establish stronger trade, investment, economic ties with UAE. And we believe also in the progress that Dubai is making. We're part of an active part of Dubai Expo. We have a very beautiful Philippine pavilion. I am also tasked as the Commissioner General of the pavilion. And at the same time, on the side, we're fortunate to meet my counterpart, the Minister of Foreign Trade, to discuss possible partnership in terms of establishing a joint commission on economic and trade cooperation between Philippines and UAE. So it's a bilateral thing that will lead up, hopefully, to some kind of a comprehensive economic partnership agreement.
Now, Lopez met with major UAE investors in logistics and port operation, vaccine manufacturing, AI-enabled IT systems, cold storage panel systems, and halal certifying and advisory group. The trade chief was accompanied in the Global Business Forum by the other government officials virtually, including Department of Agriculture Secretary William Dar and the Department of Science and Technology Secretary Fortunato de la Peña. Lopez said a potential trade deal would give a significant boost to the Philippines' agriculture, food, consumer items, electrical and industrial products, and services sectors.
Lo Qianio was celebrating a dream come true Monday after becoming the first Singaporean to win a Badminton World Championship, despite carrying an ankle injury. The 22nd ranked LOH stunned India's world number 14 Srikanth Kidambi 21-15, 22-20 in the men's singles final to clinch the BWF World Championship in Huelva on Sunday night. It capped a stunning run at the tournament in Spain, which saw the 24-year-old Law beat Olympic champion and world number 1 Victor Axelsen of Denmark, as well as world number 3 and fellow Dane Anders Antonsen. He won despite spraining his right ankle in the quarterfinal. He was in such pain after his semi-final match Saturday that he needed to use a wheelchair. But he told Singapore Straits Times newspaper that he decided to push through the pain and go all out in the final and cope with ice and some treatment, and it paid off. Law, unseeded in the tournament, started off badly in the final, slipping 9-3 down in the first set, but he bounced back strongly, leveling at 12-12 and going on to win.
Thank you very much, Ralph, for keeping me company today here on ASEAN in Focus.
You're welcome, Alma, and that's the latest news in the ASEAN region. This is Ralph Wandel M5 from your EBC Vietnam Bureau. We live in interesting times.
And we'll see you back tomorrow, same time, same place. I'm Alma Angeles, and we live in interesting times.